Hi, guys, or person. Hello, people. A couple of people have already joined. This is so exciting. So I'm going to be talking with the one and only Andrew Yang very briefly. Uh, I mean, in a very short period of time. The conversation won't be that brief. I don't want to disappoint you. And I'm going to try now to fold Andrew Yang into the conversation, but it says unable to join Andrew Yang for some reason. Is there something I can do to make you able to join? Andrew, if you're watching this, you're literally the only person who's requested to join here that it says unable to join for. Also, other people, can you stop requesting to join? Because I'm actually just trying to get Andrew on here. Okay, I think we will be connecting.
He's
Yes.
just trying to get this guy. Hello, everyone. Hello, Misha.
Hi.
Fans, family. I doubt you have family members on this thing, Misha.
I am sure that my mother does not know how to get on an Instagram live. So I think that we're safe. We can talk openly about my family and not worry about hurting their feelings.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Misha's mom, look how we turned out. I think she's some kind of TV star or celebrity. You probably see him anytime you want just by turning on the TV, and I feel like there's a supernatural episode showing somewhere at all times. Is this
That's
right?
actually, I think that is true. I think it's actually in our contracts with the network. There has to be one episode airing at all times around the clock. I was on a Zoom call recently with somebody and I had my bookshelf behind me, and they pointed out, I think a lot of people try to show the books in the background on their Zoom calls to make themselves look smart.
Yes. It's an affectation many of us want to be smart people have.
Yeah. Are those real books on the counter on the shelves behind you, or are they just the binds?
Okay, they're real books, but they are not my books because I'm sort of like you. I'm in someone else's place for a minute. But a couple of the books back there are strategically my books in the hopes that someone subliminally will say like, I need to buy that book right now. I can tell from the fuzzy cover in the bag.
That's good subliminal marketing.
I've also got some math caps back there and some other things like mementos from the trail. Also subliminal marketing. It's not quite supernatural.
Yep. I have a bunch of questions that people gave me to ask you, but before I get into that, I have a little bone to pick with you. My oldest friend's oldest son, whose name is Asa, was staying with me this winter, and he's voting in a presidential election for the first time. This is not a math problem, by the way. He's voting in a presidential election for the first time this year, and he wouldn't stop talking about you. He was like the biggest super fan of anyone I've ever met. It was Andrew.
And this is a problem. Why, Misha?
It was Andrew Yang this, Andrew Yang that. He said that you were the person that got him excited about politics. He would talk about your platform. He said that you didn't sign on to any party line policies in your platform, but instead you took a solution-based approach to fixing the biggest problems that were facing America and finding the best solutions for them. And that's how your platform was put together, which I thought was a lovely framing and also a really good North Star for any politician to be putting together a platform with. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. And
that's a tremendous story. Please say hey to him for
I will.
Me. Your
I will.
oldest friend's oldest son.
Yeah, and that's the end of the Ask Kissing portion of this programming. I can ask you now some questions that people have texted in for you. Here's one. What would you do to stimulate the economy to get it back on track?
We saw that the cash stimulus worked wonders, but we just need to do more of it, and it needs to be recurring. So that $1,200 payment we all got in April, I didn't, but whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
Millions of people got. we should be doing that for everyone every month. And Kamala sponsored a bill in the Senate to do just that, $2,000 a month for everyone. And Bernie's on it, no surprise. Ed Markey's on it. In the House, there's a similar bill sponsored by Ro Khanna, Tim Ryan, AOC, and now 39 other members of Congress. So it's like halfway to getting passed. We just need to put money into people's hands, Misha, and that would help small businesses. It would help families, obviously. It would just help everyone avoid evictions. Like we're having massive problems. I just got I'm a data guy, and so there's a guy who runs a massive freelance gig labor company where he has a sense of how over 2 million gig workers are doing, and all of them had not all of them, but there's a massive drop in income in August because of the elapsing of enhanced unemployment benefits. So to the extent that there is economic wreckage from this crisis, we haven't seen the worst of it because of the stimulus. But the stimulus wore off, and now we're going to start seeing the worst of it, and it's just mounting the damage. So we need to get money into people's hands and then help keep us whole, essentially, as things heal. But the healing process would take months and years, even in a best case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that there's a lot of people who are being delusional about how things are going right now because the stock market is still fairly buoyant, and a lot of people have avoided evictions thus far, and foreclosures haven't spiked, but it does seem like that's all piling up.
Yes, there's a shoe waiting to drop, and the stock market. Don't get me started, because you can see more clearly than ever that stock market prices have nothing to do with the everyday American households prospects anymore. If you have a major company that announces layoffs, the stock goes up, and you're seeing record highs. A lot of it's that the business physics are being violated, Misha. It's almost like supernatural. It's like business supernatural, because we're just plowing so much money into the system that if you have access to that money, then it's like you can fly. Like that? Like no longer do the rules apply to you. No longer is your company valued based upon how much money you're making or will eventually make. It's just like whatever. We're just gonna put trillions into the system. If you're invested, then you're going to get propped up by the Fed. It's very dark. It's a very dark time.
Yeah, and I think to your point, I think a lot of what's happening is based on the fact that companies saw the strife that the pandemic was causing, laid off lots of workers, cut a lot of costs, and the share prices on a lot of companies actually went up because of that, because their bottom line had improved. But that's not good for the overall economy, and it's not good for average working Americans.
Yeah, the big message we have to hammer home to everyone, Misha, is the stock market is not the economy. And anytime someone makes that confusion, it's destructive to all of us, because someone will look up and be like, ooh, Amazon record high, I guess things are all right. And it's like, that's not helping the vast majority of Americans.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm going to go to another question. So, I know that you have a slightly optimistic view on this, and I'm actually glad to hear that, because I can catastrophize about this sort of thing. But here's the question from John Marshman 101. I would like to ask, what can be done to help reverse the current situation with the USPS? Not only will it have significant impact on voting, but also upon businesses, causing a significant economic downturn. How can they deny citizens this service without a replacement?
The Postal Service is a lifeline for many communities, many households getting access to drugs and groceries or whatever else. Do you get your groceries mailed to you? How am I getting my groceries now? I'm getting it like
as long as they're not perishables.
Though I did get some hot sauce mailed to me recently. We need to keep the post office whole. It's unthinkable, but now it's thinkable, obviously, that a sitting president would be trashing the post office to try and cast doubt on their reelection campaign. You're seeing some delays already in service for a number of reasons. I am, and you said this before, I'm cautiously optimistic that, or actually, I'll just say it. I'm just flat out optimistic that Biden and that Joe and Kamala are going to win. if the votes are counted in any kind of accurate and timely way. And I think Trump's team has made the same conclusion. And so now they're like, okay, we're going to lose. Maybe we can trash the process. Maybe we can trash the post office. But now there's been this massive backlash against their trashing of the post office in terms of Congress trying to get DeJoy to testify. I think a dozen attorney generals are suing the federal government, of all things, for screwing up the post office. Nancy Pelosi is considering having Congress come back and pass a bill for the post office. So I believe that Trump, as usual, like for like a supervillain's plan, you know how like the supervillain's not supposed to tell you the plan, but they always tell you the plan. Like, that's kind of what's going on here, where Trump was like, you know, they'll never be able to count the votes if I do this, and because he's so obvious about it, you know, I'm positive, I'm optimistic that it seems like steps are being taken to safeguard the operation of the postal service, though there are still delays right now for various reasons, which is a, you know, it's a very troubling sign.
Yeah, as far as supervillains are concerned, on television, he said, I don't want to fund the post office ballots. Really does. Oh, Andrew left. I must have been boring him. Well, I'm going to see if I can find him again. But yes, yeah, Trump actually went on television, and hi.
And Andrew is back.
Hi, Andrew. I'm sorry. Did I say something that offended you?
No, not at all. It's my superpower to vanish and then reappear.
You reappeared very quickly.
Feeds. Yes. I will say that I have a reputation to uphold as the tech candidate, and so anytime people are like, well, you should know how to do this, I'm just like, oh, right. I mean, I'm confident I'm tech savvier than some of the other candidates who are in my race, that's for sure. Not a knock at anyone, but just saying, it's like some of them were not exactly, you know.
Let me ask you one more follow-up question on the postal service thing. I think a lot of people are worried now because there has been this kerfuffle with the postal service. Like they're wondering, should I register for an absentee ballot? Should I sign up for an absentee ballot in my state, or should I not do that now? Should I just plan to wait online during the pandemic in person? Do you have any take on like what the best approach for people to take, like voters to take at this point?
No, if you request an absentee ballot and you have a mail-in ballot, it has an advantage of there being a concrete paper trail, and so you should feel free to do that if that was going to be your inclination anyway. Yeah, so that there might be, worst case in my mind is a time lag, but your vote will be counted because you'll have mailed it in, and you know it's hard to erase, like, you know, that envelope. So do what you think is best, but don't be afraid to vote by mail.
Yeah, good. And also, if you're going to do it, mail it in as early as you can.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Mail it early for sure.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you, just sort of based on your insight into the Biden-Harris campaign. In my experience so far, the people that I've been dealing with in the campaign look like a real cross-section of America. They're people of all races and all religions and all ages and genders and sexualities. They're all really smart people who are doing this work because they really care about the country and they want to make it a better place for all Americans. And the ticket itself, you know, it has a Black woman on it, which is the first time that has happened in our nation's history. It feels to me like an incredible team is coalescing, and here you are, you're stumping for the Biden-Harris ticket. And then when I compare that to the Trump, you know, Team Trump, it seems like there's a cabal of criminals there. I mean, they have the most, you know, felony convictions of any sitting president's inner circle in U.S. history. How would you characterize the Biden-Harris team as you're seeing it coalesce?
Well, the team's all coming together, Misha. It's kind of fun. So I'm going to lay it straight. That's also, you know, I mean, I guess it's the only thing I know how to do, really. So Joe's campaign was not enormous until relatively late, because if you remember, he was not faring that well in the early states, and then Jim Clyburn in South Carolina, and then Super Tuesday, and then he just sort of took off like a rocket ship and wrecked everyone.
Yeah.
And so starting around then, all of the forces started to coalesce around him, and they grew the team. And they did hire a bunch of people from the other campaigns, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
So they had their pick of the best folks in Democratic politics, past and present.
Mm-hmm.
And they're now, it's all hands on deck. So it's very positive. And it's been funny watching it happen, because their campaign has grown a great deal, and will grow a lot still, even between now and November. And if you would like to help with the campaign, text to 30330, and then you can become part of the campaign. Then you get texts from Joe and Kamala. It's good fun. You can also go to joebiden.com. But they need, so the reason why Misha and I are doing this, aside from the fact that it's delightful and we're both cool, is that Joe needs help reaching folks in different ways. And he's not an extraordinarily native digital type candidate, and so he needs our help to try and reach out to folks who are more comfortable on Instagram Live than they are in other medias. So please do, if you want to get involved, go to joebiden.com or text 30330, and then you can be in touch with the campaign, because we all need to help. To me, this is the campaign that's pro-civilization, because like Misha said, there's a real contrast between this team and the team over there. Team over there, like they're not even pretending anymore. They're just like, whatever, let's just like go. And one of the things I heard about next week's convention, Misha, it's interesting, because there's a tradition where, and you can see it with the Democrats, that you have all these folks in the party speak, and then the nominee shows up the last day and accepts the nomination. In the Republicans' case, it's going to be Trump every night.
Right.
And so that there's like a difference.
It's almost as if he has a big ego and he's full of himself. Almost.
Almost, yeah. And so there's someone compared it once to like Avengers versus Thanos. It's like the Democrats are like the Avengers, and we all run around, and then out there, Thanos type figure. But we certainly need to come together and get that gauntlet off his hand.
Yeah.
I don't know if I geeked out too much, but it is a Supernatural fan, so I feel
yeah. There's no way you can over geek it here. You're doing just fine.
Yeah.
I've been watching the convention, and I have to say, I actually think that this sort of pandemic Zoom-based convention format is actually better. I kind of like I like how the convention is unfolding this time around better than I did in past years. I don't know if you like the format. I mean, it's way more produced and polished than they traditionally are. But I think it's actually just creating better television watching myself.
I think there are real advantages and disadvantages. But you're a TV pro, so you may have a more professional point of view. So one thing, to your point, is they've condensed the programming. Like it's ordinarily more than 2 hours a night. I think it's 4 hours ordinarily.
Right.
And so that there's a benefit there for sure. I think the roll call when you beamed into every state was an improvement. I think in other cases it's more difficult, because if you are speaking to a crowd of thousands of partisans and they just like hear everything you say, then you seem awesome.
Right.
In a way that is not true if you're just like, talk into a screen. Sometimes for some people.
Oh yeah.
So I think there are pluses and minuses.
Yeah, I know what you mean. We do these Supernatural conventions where, we'll get on stage and we'll talk for an hour in front of the fans, and everybody who's in the room is there because they love you. And so everything that comes out of your mouth is hilarious and brilliant. And then I did a virtual convention last weekend, and I'm speaking the only thing I can see on the screen was my own face, which I'm sick of. And I'm talking into the ether, and it was a terrible performance on my part because I wasn't getting any of that feedback. So I understand your perspective. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So there's some goods and bads. And you know what's interesting is I actually thought to myself that because the Democrats went first, it's almost like a TV production battle. It's like the Republican team,
Right.
are they taking tips or cues from what has worked and what hasn't worked? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And do they have enough time to make adjustments? Probably, in the sense that like a lot of the stuff is getting done last minute. That's one thing I can attest to is a lot of the stuff's getting done last minute.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh.
But that happens on any in your TV show too. It's like you show up and I'm sure stuff's getting changed all the time.
Yeah, they're usually just taking lines away from me because I can't say them properly. Like, yeah, why don't we give that line to someone else, Misha? Um,
That happened to me at various debates. No, I'm kidding. I shouldn't laugh.
It's I think one thing that the Republican convention is not going to be able to measure up with is the caliber and cross section of speakers. The fact that we have Colin Powell speaking on behalf of the Biden-Harris ticket, that's pretty amazing. And Trump's going to have that couple, that rich white couple that went out on their lawn with guns and threatened peaceful protesters. They're going to be at the Republican convention. So I think you're going to see a bit of a disparity there, and they're not going to. It'll be interesting.
It's one reason it's going to be the Trump show all next week. But you're right. I mean, on the Dem side, tonight you have Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and Kamala. I mean, like it's really impressive, the folks that can be assembled. Tomorrow night you have Andrew Yang.
That's going to be the best night. After that, there's not anything worth watching.
Yes. So I mean, I am participating tomorrow night. That is true, but
yes.
But I'm just going to be making my case for Joe and Kamala, like many other people.
Mm-hmm. Good. Well, we need to be making that case, and a lot of people have been posting questions on my social media asking me what can I do to make a difference in the world. I think that those questions really started cropping up first when the Black Lives Matter movement took off, and that momentum is carrying through now. I see it. There's an activation happening online, but obviously, the number one thing you can do is vote. And the number two thing you can do is get other people to get out there and vote and help the campaigns that you care about. Obviously, Andrew and I care about the Biden-Harris campaign and all of the down ballot issues and campaigns that are also important in your state and local elections that are coming up. But if you want to get involved, the easiest way to start is text 30330. And you will be looped in with the Biden-Harris campaign, and you'll be able to help start volunteering with them and supporting, and you'll be in communication with the campaign if you text. And also follow on Instagram at Joe Biden. And what is it, joebiden.com? I don't have all of it in my head.
I think it is joebiden.com. And so, yeah, any of those, certainly. I mean, you're on Instagram, so you can just follow at Joe Biden. And to what Misha just said, we need to get Joe legislators he can work with too. So if you're looking at your own community, your own district, there are all of these congressional races that are very impactful. And if you want to help someone, you can make a huge difference very quickly. I'll tell you, these congressional races, like the number of votes that separate the winner from the loser. Like I just talked to someone today who their race, the congressional race, U.S. Congress, less than 1,000 votes. And so you can be a difference maker if you help your local candidate run for city council, school board, mayor, U.S. Congress, Senate, so it doesn't just need to be Joe and Kamala. Some people look, and you definitely need to vote for Joe and Kamala and go on and help.
Yeah, that's not negotiable.
But some people, you should really do that. But some people think well, that's so big, and maybe they're in a state, frankly, that it's it's going to go for Joe already. Let's call it California or something like that. So there are other races that you can get involved with in that you can become a difference maker in local races. You know, you may know people in swing states because our system, as we all know, is kind of strange. Where I used to run around saying that like one Iowan is worth many many Californians or whatever because I was running for president. I was trying to get people excited. But it is true now in terms of like an Ohioan is worth like you know more than a New Yorker for presidential purposes. So if you know folks, you can reach out or you can just get involved with the local campaign. We just need your help on every level. And it is a fear of mine that even if we win, if you don't have the right Congress in place, it's going to be hard to get some of the big things done.
Yep, absolutely. And it matters on the state level too, who you're voting for and who you're supporting, because state legislatures make a lot of they pass a lot of legislation that affects your daily life, your schools, your communities, and also they also decide how elections get run and whether redistricting happens and gerrymandering and all of these issues that ultimately affect national politics and by extension international politics. So small local politics actually impact everything. In my district, we had a state Senate race last year, and I was traveling and busy and forgot to post about it. And the woman that I was supporting lost by 47 votes.
Oh.
And I know I could have gotten her 47 votes if I was paying attention. So I'm personally responsible for one bad senator in my state. And so don't you people watching this, don't let that be you.
I mean, it's very generous of you to take responsibility and share that story. Yeah, definitely your fault. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Don't let it be your fault if you're watching this. Don't let it be. Don't be like Misha in that story. The presidential election decided by one vote.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, it wasn't too long ago.
One place.
It wasn't too long ago that Florida, you know, it all hinged on the presidential election. Hinged on a few hundred votes in Florida. I mean,
that was nuts.
It was nuts.
We thought that was as nuts as it gets. So yeah, and the process is going to be, unfortunately, part of this story. So we really do need to win by a significant margin as quickly as possible so that we can just turn this page, because the other side will try and muddy the water.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Andrew.
Misha, that was so fun.
That was fun.
Maybe we'll do this again after Joe and Kamala win, and we can celebrate and say it was because of this conversation. We saved the world, just like you do every week on your show. Incredible. You're like a real life superhero.
It's a pleasure, Andrew, talking to you. And thank you for doing this. And thank you for enlightening my followers and me. And I look forward to your speech tomorrow. Please don't mess it up. It's all on your shoulders.
It'll be great. And I'll say this is inspired by my friend Misha Collins and his.
Please do.
and then I'll just play minutes of this conversation. Great. Get out there.
All right, you guys.
Text up, people.
One last plug since we're here. 30330. That'll put you in text contact with the Biden campaign. All right.
Text 30330.
Bye now.
Do it for all of us. Thank you. Thank you all. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone. If I can figure out how to end this. Thank you for watching.